The cargo ship Meridian's Edge moved slowly through space, carrying tons of metal and rocks from the mining colonies back to Earth. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his chair on the bridge, watching the stars through the big front window. He had been flying ships for 20 years, and this route was as safe as flying could get. The Kepler Corridor was a well-known path that thousands of ships used every year. Lisa Grant stood beside him, checking the computer screens that showed their position. She was his first officer and had worked with Jake for 5 years. They made a good team. In the engine room below, Danny Walsh was fixing a small problem with one of the power units. Danny knew every wire and bolt on the ship better than anyone else. The ship carried 43 people total. Most were crew members who ran the ship, but some were passengers going back to Earth after working in the mines. Alex Cooper was one of the maintenance workers. He spent his days crawling through the small spaces between the walls, fixing pipes and checking systems that kept everyone alive. It was not exciting work, but Alex was good at it. Jake looked at the navigation screen. They would exit hyperspace in 10 minutes near the Titan belt. After that, it was just a straight flight to Earth. He had made this trip dozens of times before without any problems. Space pirates sometimes attacked ships in the outer systems, but never this close to the main shipping lanes. Far away, on a ship that humans had never seen, Commander Vexitar studied the reports his scouts had sent him. The Zephyrian Empire had been watching human ships for months. Their spies told them that humans were weak and stupid. They had somehow learned to travel between stars, but they had no real weapons and no fighting spirit. Vexitar had conquered 17 different species in his career. Each time the aliens had surrendered quickly when they saw the power of the Zephyrian war fleet. Humans would be no different. His intelligence officers said that humans were just lucky animals who had found some old technology. They would break easily. 6 Zephyrian destroyers waited in the darkness near the Titan belt. Their ships were invisible to human sensors, using technology that made them blend into space itself. Each destroyer carried enough firepower to destroy a city. Against one slow cargo ship, it would be like using a hammer to crush an egg. The Meridian's Edge dropped out of hyperspace exactly where Jake expected. The familiar sight of the Titan belt asteroids appeared on the screens. Everything looked normal. Jake was about to order the course change toward Earth when Lisa's voice cut through the quiet bridge. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange on the sensors." Before Jake could respond, space around them exploded with light. 6 alien ships appeared from nowhere, their weapons already firing. The Meridian's Edge shook as energy beams hit the hull. Alarms screamed throughout the ship. "Shields up!" Jake shouted, but it was too late. The ship's weak cargo shields collapsed under the first attack. These weapons were designed to fight warships, not protect merchant vessels. "Send a distress signal," Jake ordered as another blast tore through the ship's side. Lisa's fingers flew over the controls, broadcasting an emergency message toward Earth. The signal would take days to reach anyone who could help, but maybe other ships in the area would hear it. Down in the engine room, Danny felt the ship shake around him. He knew immediately that they were under attack. His training kicked in and he started the emergency procedures to protect the ship's important systems. If the attackers wanted to capture the ship, they would not get human technology intact. The alien ships moved closer, and Jake could see them clearly now. They were dark and angular, covered in weapons that glowed with deadly energy. He had never seen ships like these before. No human had. "Jake, they're cutting through the hull in 3 places," Lisa reported. Her voice was steady, but Jake could see the fear in her eyes. "We've got maybe 5 minutes before they board us." Jake reached for the controls that would delete the ship's navigation computer. If these aliens wanted to know where Earth was, they would have to find it themselves. As his fingers touched the buttons, another explosion rocked the bridge. Sparks flew from the damaged controls. The first boarding pods punched through the ship's hull like bullets through paper. Zephyrian soldiers poured into the cargo holds, their energy weapons ready. They moved with confidence, expecting the same easy victory they had achieved so many times before. The human crew fought back with whatever they could find. Some had small pistols for protection against pirates. Others grabbed tools and tried to use them as weapons. But the alien weapons cut through metal and flesh with equal ease. Lisa drew her sidearm and fired at the aliens coming onto the bridge. Her shot sparked off their armor without doing any damage. A blue energy beam hit her in the chest and she fell beside Jake's chair. Jake grabbed her weapon and kept shooting until another beam found him too. In the engine room, Danny heard the fighting getting closer. He worked frantically to overload the reactor core. If he could make it explode, the aliens would get nothing from the ship. The emergency systems tried to stop him, but Danny knew how to override them. He had built some of these systems himself. Throughout the ship, the crew members made their last stands. They bought time for others to hide or destroy important information. They fought harder than the aliens expected, but it was not enough. The Zephyrians had better weapons, better armor, and more soldiers. Alex Cooper was fixing a water pipe in the cargo hold when the attack began. The explosions threw him against the wall and falling metal pinned his leg. He could hear the fighting above him, but he could not move. Water from the broken pipe filled the small space where he was trapped. Danny's reactor overload worked. The explosion tore through the center of the ship, sealing off whole sections and damaging the alien equipment. The blast threw Alex deeper into the twisted metal, but it also broke the pipe that had trapped him. When the shaking stopped, Alex found himself in a pocket of air surrounded by bent metal plates. He could hear the aliens moving through the ship, above him checking bodies and looking for survivors. They were very careful, making sure everyone was dead. Commander Vextar walked through the ruined ship, pleased with how quickly the attack had gone. His soldiers had lost only 2 warriors, while all the humans were dead. It proved once again that his species was superior to these weak aliens. "Search every section," he ordered his troops. "Make sure none of them survived." For 6 hours, the Zephyrians moved through the ship. They found the bodies of Jake and Lisa on the bridge. They found Danny in the engine room, killed by his own explosion. They found 39 other humans throughout the ship, all dead from energy weapons or the reactor blast. But the explosion had sealed off damaged sections of the cargo hold. The aliens could not get into every space, and they assumed that no one could survive in those areas anyway. After checking the accessible parts twice, Commander Vextar declared the ship secure. "All humans eliminated," he reported to the fleet command. "Salvage teams can begin work." In his hidden pocket of air, Alex Cooper listened to the alien voices getting quieter as they moved away. He was hurt, bleeding from cuts on his head and arm. His leg was twisted, and every breath sent pain through his chest. But he was alive. The aliens had made their first mistake. They had left a human alive, and Alex Cooper was already planning what to do next. Alex Cooper had been hiding in the broken cargo hold for 3 days. His water came from the damaged pipes around him, and he breathed air from emergency tanks that had fallen near his hiding spot. The cuts on his head had stopped bleeding, but his leg still hurt badly when he moved. Through a crack in the twisted metal, Alex could see into the main cargo area. The aliens had left 12 soldiers to guard the ship while they took apart the valuable equipment. These Zephyrians moved in, the same pattern every day. 2 guards walked through the cargo hold every 4 hours. 3 more stayed near the main entrance. The rest were scattered around the ship. Alex watched them carefully. He learned that they talked to each other through small devices on their wrists. He saw that their weapons needed time to charge between shots. Most importantly, he noticed that they never looked up at the ceiling or down at the floor when they walked. They only watched straight ahead. The aliens were confident that all humans were dead. They talked loudly and left their weapons hanging loose on their belts. Sometimes they even took off their helmets to breathe the ship's air. Alex could see their faces then. They looked like tall lizards with 4 arms and yellow eyes. On the 4th day, Alex decided to move. He had found a path through the maintenance tunnels that would take him to other parts of the ship. The tunnels were too small for the aliens to follow, but Alex could crawl through them easily. He had spent years working in these spaces. Alex's first stop was the tool storage room. The aliens had not bothered to search it because it contained only human equipment they did not understand. Alex found a plasma cutter that maintenance workers used to repair hull damage. He also took a portable welder and some chemical compounds used for cleaning metal. His engineering training told him that these chemicals could be mixed to make explosives. The plasma cutter could be modified to work as a weapon. Alex spent hours in the dark tunnels changing the tools into things that could kill. The first alien died 2 days later. Alex had loosened the supports for a heavy cargo container. When the Zephyrian guard walked underneath, Alex triggered the release. 2 tons of metal crushed the alien instantly. The other guards found the body and assumed it was an accident, caused by the battle damage. Alex struck again the next day. He had rerouted some power cables through a puddle of water near the main door. When a guard stepped in the water, electricity killed him immediately. Again, the aliens thought it was just another malfunction in the damaged ship. But Alex was learning more than just how to kill them. He had found their communication equipment and was starting to understand their language. The words were strange, but the meaning became clear after listening for hours. The aliens called humans soft meat and laughed about how easy they had been to kill. More importantly, Alex learned that this attack was just the beginning. The Zephyrians had a whole fleet coming toward human space. They planned to destroy every human colony and take Earth for themselves. Commander Vextar had told his warriors that humans would be good slaves once they learned to obey. This news made Alex angry in a way he had never felt before. These aliens had killed his friends and were planning to destroy his entire species. He stopped thinking about just surviving and started thinking about fighting back. Alex began using the ship's own systems as weapons. He rerouted heating pipes to spray boiling water on patrol routes. He changed the artificial gravity in certain sections so that guards would fall and break their necks. He even used the food recycling system to spread poisonous gases through areas where the aliens liked to rest. The psychological warfare started in the second week. Alex moved the bodies of dead guards and arranged them in strange patterns. He carved symbols into the metal walls using his plasma cutter. He made sounds in the darkness that the aliens could not identify. The Zephyrians had never faced anything like this before. In all their conquests, enemies had fought them directly or surrendered quickly. They had no experience with an enemy who used fear as a weapon. Their advanced technology meant nothing against an opponent who turned the environment itself into a trap. Commander Vextar received increasingly worried reports from the guards on the ship. Half of his soldiers were dead and the survivors were starting to panic. They claimed that the ship was haunted by the spirits of the dead humans. Some refused to patrol alone, while others asked to be transferred off the vessel. Impossible, Vextar told his lieutenant. All the humans are dead. My soldiers checked twice, but doubt was creeping into his mind. The Zephyrians believed that violent death could leave angry spirits behind. Their own mythology was full of stories about vengeful ghosts that tormented the living. What if the humans had similar supernatural powers? Alex heard these conversations through the communication devices he had stolen. He began to understand that fear was his most powerful weapon. The aliens might have better technology, but they were just as superstitious as any primitive species. On his 15th day of survival, Alex decided to reveal himself. He used the ship's internal cameras to record a message, then broadcast it on all the alien communication channels at once. His face appeared on every screen throughout the vessel. "I am Alex Cooper," he said in English, knowing they had translation devices. "I was a maintenance worker on this ship. You killed my captain, my friends, and my crewmates. You think you killed all of us, but you made a mistake. You left one human alive." The aliens watching the screens could see the determination in his eyes. His face was dirty and scarred from 2 weeks of fighting, but there was no fear there. Only cold anger and absolute resolve. "I know what you are planning," Alex continued. "I know about your fleet coming to destroy Earth. I know you think humans are weak and stupid. But you are wrong. We do not give up. We do not surrender. And we learn from our enemies." The broadcast ended, but the message was clear. The guards looked at each other with growing fear. If one human could kill half their unit while injured and alone, what could millions of humans do when they were prepared for war? Alex disappeared back into the shadows of the ship, but his psychological victory was complete. The remaining aliens barricaded themselves in the central control room and refused to patrol the outer sections. They had gone from confident conquerors to frightened prisoners in their own captured vessel. The hunt was no longer just about survival. Alex Cooper was going to escape this ship, and when he did, he would warn humanity about what was coming. The Zephyrians had made their second mistake, when they let fear take control of their minds. But Alex had already begun planning their third and final mistake. 3 weeks had passed since the attack on the Meridian's edge. Alex Cooper had turned the cargo ship into a nightmare for the remaining Zephyrian guards. Only 4 aliens were still alive, and they had locked themselves inside the central control room. They were too scared to come out even to get food or water. Alex had spent the last few days working on something more important than killing aliens. Deep in the ship's communication center, he was building a transmitter powerful enough to reach human space. He used parts from all over the vessel, connecting circuits in ways that the original designers never intended. The work was slow and dangerous. Every wire had to be perfect or the message would never reach its destination. Alex's hands shook from exhaustion and hunger, but he kept working. He knew that his survival meant nothing if he could not warn Earth about the coming invasion. Finally, on a cold morning in the ship's artificial day cycle, Alex finished his transmitter. He typed his message carefully, knowing it might be the most important communication in human history. This is Alex Cooper, sole survivor of the cargo ship Meridian's Edge. We were attacked without warning by aliens who call themselves the Zephyrian Empire. They have weapons and ships far beyond our technology. They killed my entire crew in minutes. They are planning to invade Earth and destroy all human colonies. This is not a drill. This is not a joke. They are coming, and we are not ready. Alex sent the message toward Proxima Station, the closest human outpost. The signal would take 6 days to travel through space, but it was humanity's only hope. He programmed the transmitter to repeat the message every hour, hoping that someone would eventually hear it. 6 days later, Admiral Kate Brooks was reviewing supply reports at Proxima Station when the emergency communication came through. She listened to Alex Cooper's message 3 times before she fully understood what it meant. Humanity was about to face its first alien invasion, and they had almost no military forces to defend themselves. Brooks immediately sent orders to every human ship in space. All vessels were to return to Earth immediately. The few military ships humanity possessed were mostly converted cargo haulers with basic weapons. The largest fleet they could assemble would have maybe 50 ships, and most of those were not designed for combat. But Brooks was a smart woman who had studied military history. She knew that superior technology did not always guarantee victory. Sometimes the side that fought smarter could defeat the side that fought harder. Meanwhile, Alex was intercepting more Zephyrian communications. He had learned enough of their language to understand their tactical discussions. What he discovered made his blood run cold. The attack on his ship was just a scouting mission. The main Zephyrian invasion fleet had over 300 warships, each one powerful enough to destroy a human city. Worse, the aliens were already moving toward Earth. They would arrive in less than 2 months, expecting to find the same weak resistance they had encountered everywhere else in the galaxy. Commander Vextar was leading the invasion personally, confident that humans would surrender as soon as they saw the size of his fleet. Alex realized that his warning message might not be enough. He needed to get back to human space with detailed intelligence about Zephyrian weapons and tactics. The information he had gathered could mean the difference between victory and the extinction of the human race. The problem was getting off the ship. The 4 remaining guards still controlled the docking bay where a Zephyrian shuttle was attached to the vessel. Alex would have to fight his way through them to reach the shuttle, and despite all his success, he was still just 1 injured human against 4 armed aliens. Alex spent 3 days preparing for his final assault. He built explosives from industrial chemicals and placed them throughout the ship. He created smoke generators from the air recycling system. He even rigged the artificial gravity to fail in certain sections, hoping to confuse the aliens when the fighting started. Most importantly, Alex studied the layout of the central control room through the ship's internal cameras. He memorized every door, every control panel, and every place where an alien might hide. He would only get 1 chance to reach the shuttle, and he had to make it count. The attack began at what the ship's computer considered midnight. Alex triggered explosions throughout the vessel, creating chaos and confusion. Emergency lights flashed red and alarms screamed in the darkness. Smoke filled the corridors and the artificial gravity failed in random sections. The terrified Zephyrians stumbled out of their control room, trying to understand what was happening. They had energy weapons, but they could not see their target through the smoke and flashing lights. Alex moved through the ship like a ghost, using every maintenance tunnel and hidden passage he had learned during his weeks of survival. The first alien died when Alex dropped from a ceiling vent and attacked him with a plasma cutter. The weapon sliced through the alien's armor like paper, and the creature fell without making a sound. Alex took the alien's energy rifle and moved toward his next target. The second alien was hiding behind a control panel, firing blindly into the smoke. Alex used a mirror to see around the corner, then threw one of his improvised explosives. The blast knocked the alien unconscious, and Alex finished him with the energy rifle. The third alien was smarter. He had found a position near the shuttle, bay door, and was waiting for Alex to approach. But Alex had studied the ship's blueprints for weeks. He knew about the maintenance hatch that opened directly above the alien's hiding spot. Alex dropped through the hatch and landed on the alien's back. They fought hand to hand in the narrow corridor, but Alex had advantages the alien did not expect. Weeks of crawling through tight spaces had made him stronger, and his desperation gave him energy that the alien could not match. The fourth alien surrendered when he saw Alex approaching with weapons taken from his dead comrades. The creature begged for mercy in broken English, promising to help Alex escape if his life was spared. Alex looked at the alien for a long moment. This creature had participated in the murder of his friends and the planned destruction of his species. But Alex was not a killer by nature. He was an engineer who had been forced to become a warrior. "You can live," Alex said finally, "but you are going to help me send a message to your fleet." Alex forced the alien to record a message in the Zephyrian language. The message was simple. Humans were not the weak prey that Zephyrian intelligence had described. They were dangerous, clever, and absolutely refused to surrender. The invasion fleet should expect heavy resistance and significant losses. After sending the message, Alex locked the alien in a cargo container with enough air and water to survive until rescue arrived. Then he began learning how to operate the Zephyrian shuttle. The alien technology was complex, but Alex's engineering background helped him understand the basic principles. He managed to activate the navigation system and program a course for human space. As the shuttle detached from the Meridian's edge, Alex looked back at the ship that had been his prison and his salvation. He had survived for 3 weeks against impossible odds. He had defeated an alien garrison through intelligence and determination. Most importantly, he was carrying information that could save the human race from extinction. The shuttle jumped into hyperspace, carrying Alex Cooper toward home and toward the greatest battle humanity had ever faced. Alex Cooper woke up in a white medical room on the human warship New Horizon. His body was covered in bandages, and machines were monitoring his heartbeat and breathing. A woman in a military uniform sat beside his bed, reading reports on a tablet. "Computer, you have been unconscious for 4 days," Admiral Kate Brooks said when she saw Alex's eyes open. "The patrol ship that found your shuttle thought you were dead. You lost a lot of blood during your escape." Alex tried to sit up, but pain shot through his chest. "How long until the alien fleet arrives?" he asked. 6 weeks, Brooks replied. "We have been building defenses based on the information in your message. Every human ship in space is heading toward Earth right now." Alex felt relieved that his warning had reached the right people, but he was worried about humanity's chances. "Admiral, you do not understand how powerful their weapons are. Our ships will not be able to fight them directly." Brooks smiled grimly. "That is why we are not going to fight them directly. You showed us something important when you survived on that cargo ship. Humans do not win by being stronger. We win by being smarter." Over the next few days, Alex learned about the preparations happening throughout human space. The military had taken his advice and abandoned traditional battle tactics. Instead of building more warships, they were converting civilian vessels into weapons platforms using creative engineering. Mining ships became mobile missile launchers. their industrial equipment modified to fire salvos of rockets. Cargo haulers were turned into electronic warfare platforms, using their powerful communication systems to jam alien sensors. Even passenger liners were converted into troop transports and medical ships. The human fleet that gathered near Earth was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of matching warships in neat formations, it looked like a collection of industrial equipment that had been armed with whatever weapons the engineers could attach. Commander Vextar arrived at the edge of human space with 300 Zephyrian destroyers, expecting to find the same weak resistance his species had encountered on 17 other worlds. What he saw through his sensors confused him completely. The human defensive fleet seemed to be made up of mining equipment and cargo ships. There were no real warships, no military formations, no signs of organized resistance. Vextar assumed that the humans had simply gathered their civilian vessels in a desperate attempt to look threatening. "Begin the attack," Vextar ordered his fleet commanders. "Destroy them quickly so we can move on to their home planet." The Zephyrian fleet advanced in perfect formation, their weapons charging for what they expected to be an easy victory. But Alex Cooper had spent weeks learning their tactics, and Admiral Brooks had used that knowledge to prepare a very different kind of battle. The first surprise came when the human mining ships opened fire. Instead of energy weapons, they launched clouds of metal fragments using their ore processing equipment. The fragments spread out like deadly clouds, shredding the hulls of Zephyrian ships that flew into them. The second surprise was the electronic warfare. Human cargo ships began broadcasting signals that confused Zephyrian sensors and communication systems. The alien fleet lost coordination, as their ships could no longer talk to each other clearly. But the biggest surprise was how the human fleet fought. Instead of staying in formation like proper warships, they spread out and attacked from every direction at once. Mining ships rammed Zephyrian destroyers while cargo haulers used their massive engines as directed energy weapons. The battle was chaotic and brutal. Human ships were destroyed by alien weapons, but for every human vessel lost, they took down 2 or 3 Zephyrian ships. The aliens had never faced enemies who were willing to sacrifice their own ships to win the battle. Alex Cooper watched the fight from the bridge of the New Horizon, providing tactical advice based on his knowledge of Zephyrian weaknesses. He could see that the human fleet was taking heavy losses, but they were also achieving something no other species had managed. They were winning against the Zephyrian Empire. "Their flagship is trying to retreat," reported the sensor operator. "Commander Vextar's ship is moving toward the edge of the battle." "Not if I can help it," Alex said. He turned to Admiral Brooks. "I request permission to lead a boarding party onto that ship. I know how to fight these aliens on their own terms." Brooks looked at Alex's bandaged body and shook her head. "You are in no condition to fight anyone." "Admiral, that alien commander killed my friends and tried to destroy my species. I have been preparing for this moment since the day I crawled out of that wreckage. Please let me finish what I started." 20 minutes later, Alex was suited up in combat armor and leading a team of 12 human Marines toward the Zephyrian flagship. They used a captured alien shuttle to get through the enemy ship's defenses, and Alex's knowledge of alien technology got them inside the vessel. The fighting inside the flagship was vicious. The Zephyrians had superior individual weapons, but the humans fought with a desperation that the aliens could not understand. Alex led his team through the ship's corridors, using every trick he had learned during his weeks of survival. They reached the bridge just as Commander Vextar was ordering his fleet to retreat. The alien commander turned to face Alex, recognizing the human who had haunted his nightmares for weeks. "You," Vextar hissed in broken English. "You are the ghost from the cargo ship." "I am Alex Cooper," Alex replied, raising his weapon, "and I am here to show you what happens when you underestimate humans." The final fight was brief but decisive. Vextar was a trained warrior with advanced weapons and natural advantages, but Alex had something the alien commander could never understand: the absolute determination of a human who refuses to give up. When the smoke cleared, Commander Vextar was dead, and his flagship was under human control. The rest of the Zephyrian fleet, leaderless and confused, began to retreat toward their own space. The invasion had failed completely. The victory celebration throughout human space lasted for days. Humanity had faced its first interstellar war, and won, not through superior technology or overwhelming numbers, but through creativity, determination, and the refusal to accept defeat. Alex Cooper became the first recipient of the newly created Galactic Defense Medal, but he took no pleasure in the honor. He knew that the war was not really over. The Zephyrians would return eventually, and other alien species might also see humans as threats to be eliminated. 6 months later, Alex was teaching combat tactics at the new Human Defense Academy. His students were volunteers from across human space, learning the lessons he had discovered in the wreckage of the Meridian's Edge. "Remember," Alex told his class, "we do not win battles by being stronger than our enemies. We win by being more adaptable, more creative, and more determined. When someone attacks humans, they think they are fighting one species, but they are really fighting every human who refuses to surrender." The galaxy had learned a new truth about humanity. They were not just another weak species that could be easily conquered. They were survivors who could turn any situation into an opportunity. Engineers who could transform civilian equipment into military advantages. And fighters who would never give up no matter what the odds. The Zephyrian Empire had made one critical mistake when they attacked the Meridian's Edge. They had left a human alive. That single error had cost them their fleet, their commander, and their reputation as undefeatable conquerors. Other alien species throughout the galaxy took note of what had happened. Humans were no longer seen as harmless traders and explorers. They were now recognized as a species that could defend itself with intelligence, courage, and an unbreakable will to survive. Alex Cooper had started as a simple maintenance worker fixing pipes on a cargo ship. The alien attack had transformed him into humanity's first interstellar war hero. But more importantly, his survival had shown the galaxy that humans possessed something far more dangerous than advanced weapons or large fleets. They possessed the human spirit, and that was something no enemy could ever truly defeat.